It is a worrying phenomenon that the state, which is supposed to be a guardian and protector for the rights of its citizens, is now at the forefront of victimization of its citizens. 2 days ago, Professor Hassan, an Islamic scholar of repute, an academician, and a lawyer, was kidnapped and has been missing since then. His only crime was discharging his professional duties as a lawyer and representing a client who had finished serving his time in jail. In addition, his family was subjected to harassment after armed policemen raided his home obstinately by searching for his missing clients, which it is clear was abducted by the police. It is now nearly 4 months since Yasin Mahmoud, a Lamu County employee, was abducted by the officers in a GK vehicle. The government has continued to ignore the numerous court orders to have him produced in court. Since the beginning of this year, more than 40 people have been abducted, and only 10 have been lucky to go back home. This campaign has largely targeted Muslims, and the so-called war on terror has unfortunately morphed into a war on Islam and Muslims. We are now witnessing a deliberate strategy of instilling fear among Muslims and discouraging them to go to mosques that are supposed to be sanctified places. In light of the above, we wish to state the following. The government should end this policy of perpetuating the practice of treating Muslims as second-class citizens. We are not children of a lesser being. We are part and parcel of this great nation. We make up to 30% of the population, and our rights should be respected like other Kenyans. The Muslim leadership will also petition the U.S. administration to invoke the Murphy Law, which prohibits funding to agencies that are complicit in human rights violations. Lastly, we demand the release of Professor Hassan, Muhammad Said Abubakar Yassir Mahmoud, and others who have been abducted. In addition, the state should investigate this matter and ensure that the constitutional rights of its citizens, regardless of their religious background, are protected.
We respect and uphold the authority of the government on the condition that it looks after us in terms of protecting our lives, our properties, and our well-being and our liberty. In an exchange, the government also, we have empowered the government to enact laws, to use those laws to protect us also from harm, from terrorism, from extremism. And this is what is the expectation. The expectation is to use those laws to be able to weed out elements that may be endangering our security and our stability. But in this particular case, when you pick up a well-respected citizen from the streets of our capital city, and he disappears without any trace, it clearly shows the government is not doing its job. One, it is the responsibility for the government, and we are demanding it as Muslims, that this particular person be brought back to his home or be brought to court.
Muslims in Kenya are under siege. They are a targeted community, targeted by a gang of criminals, criminals well known to the authority of this country, being given a free hand to do what they want. Pick up people, detain them, make them disappear or release them. We as Kenyans in this country have a right as much as any other Kenyan who is protected by the Constitution. What's of concern to us, not one single person has been brought to book who has been committing these crimes. The position taken by the government is to ignore what is happening, silence, shutting their eyes and ears from the reality of what's happening. It's believed more than 40 people have disappeared this year, majority of them being Muslims. Over the last 5 to 6 years, more than 300 people have disappeared, and the ones I'm talking about are the ones that are documented. We have not had a word from the CS of Internal Security. We have not had a word from the police commissioner. And if you approach any law offices, they say it is not done by our department. Has Kenya turned into Mexico, where there is a government within a government? Or is there the rule of the law in this country? Muslims live under constant fear. We cannot live in fear in our own country. We have tried to do everything possible. I think the matter has come to a head. We have to get the security we require from this government, or alternatively, we have to choose whatever decision that the leadership of this country opts for.
It's basic knowledge that this is being done by the security forces. We do not know what they are seeking to achieve, because in the instance of Professor Abdul Wahab, all that was said was that, he had certain leanings in which they, took from his Twitter accounts and all that. And as a lawyer, I fail to understand if someone, gives an opinion on Twitter and you go and arrest him based on that, what kind of fighting terrorism are you doing? The person did not glorify terrorism. And as the MP says here, there is the right framework in the country. There are laws that address, the issue of terrorism. And as Muslims, we are not saying that the government shouldn't, combat this threat, the threat of violent extremism and radicalization. All that we are saying is it has to be logical. It has to be within the precinct of the law, so that you're not just picking up people and then later on releasing them and then telling them, you know what, don't talk to the press on this. If there was an habeas application in court, withdraw it, or do not address the media. What is it that you're hiding? Yeah, so what we're saying is these people should be produced in court. These laws that facilitate, and mark you, the security amendment laws that were passed in Kenya, they give sufficient power to the police and the security agencies, even to hold people beyond the prescribed 24 hours, but subject to the application of the court. So they have no excuse whatsoever. That's why they'll release someone and they tell him, don't talk to the media or do not, go to court.